Often on this show, I'll have attorneys on who talk about give them a call when you have a car accident. Okay, I understand that business, but you know who you should really call first is Dr. Black, because Dr. Black has your back. He is Dr. Todd Black. Dr. Black, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here. I just have one thing to maybe say about that. Maybe you might want to call a family member first.
Okay.
And just let them know that you're okay, that sort of thing. But I think what you're saying is that, hey, you know, litigation or legal stuff, that comes down the road, but basically you start healing as soon as you're injured. When you're injured, it begins a thing called the inflammatory process, and that's when your body internally realizes you've got a problem, and it starts sending all these chemicals down there to begin the repair process. So, unfortunately, as soon as we're injured, we're getting well, and if we don't get in there and make the changes that we need to right away, then the outcome for the patient generally isn't as good.
Okay, so the key, what he said right there, right away. So if you've been in a recent car accident, give Dr. Black a call. Why do car accidents intrigue you so much? What is it about them? Because I guess they're all different. I mean, everybody, each accident, whether it's a fender bender or a major car accident, they're all different. What intrigues you?
Well, yeah, they all are different, and that gets at a thing called mechanism of injury, which is real important in a motor vehicle accident case. You want to be able to relate the person's injury to what happened. Like, did the seatbelt grab them, and now my shoulder hurts? So you want to be able to document some things like that for future use if ever necessary. What was that question one more time, though?
Well, I was just saying, to me, I was like, why does it interest you?
Oh, yes.
And to me, it seems to be just what you're saying. It's because everything's a little bit different. You have to find the source of the pain.
Well, that's one of the reasons. I mean, actually, there was just a lot of reasons. You know, when you like something, you like it not just necessarily for one reason, but for multiple reasons. One, I was always raised as a child, oh, doctors are the ones that get you better when you're sick. Well, when I went to chiropractic school, I realized that a lot of chiropractic was focused on keeping well people well. Now, I'd like to do that too, but I also like to be in that guy that went in there and found the problem and helped people get through a real illness type of situation or an injury situation.
You're a really good resource if you happen to be injured in a car accident, because you were telling me the importance of documentation. What do you mean when you say documentation?
Well, one thing about chiropractors that I've noticed is that no two are exactly alike. They're like snowflakes, right? So as a person gets into practice, they sort of develop their own system built around their own philosophy of what it is that they do and want to do. So, like I said, I liked injury. I liked being able to run tests and things like that and kind of be, and I hate to use the phrase, more like a real doctor, okay? But I think chiropractors are real doctors, and if you don't think so, you go in there with a problem you don't want to talk to anybody else about and realize these people are there to do you good and to be a real doctor, really. Just, we don't use drugs or surgery. We have to use our hands and our mind, which means we usually have to take a little more time to listen to the patient and find out what's really going on.
So this is you used this term when you and I were talking about this. My son was in a recent car accident, and I mentioned it yesterday on air. Scared me to death. And if he happens to be sore, we're going to find out, or has issues, because sometimes it takes a while. Adrenaline and everything kind of protects you.
Exactly.
But if he does, I'm going to have him give you a call, believe me. But you said it's important that he's taking inventory, or that you take inventory. What's that mean?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, is that no two chiropractors are alike, and if you go into a family practitioner, for example, they may not be quite as in-depth as you might wish they had been if anything ever comes up later down the road. But yeah, when I have a patient, I listen to all their complaints, and I'm checking them out from head to toe, which is why which is one thing that chiropractors do that not every other doctor does. If they have a headache, we're looking at their head. If they hurt their ankle, we're looking at their ankle. If they hurt their neck, their middle back, their low back, we're looking at that, and we're kind of writing down all these things, and we're going to write down several things about them: where it is, how much it hurts, did it ever hurt before? If so, did it hurt as much as it did before? Was it exactly the same kind of pain? Did it get help by medicine and now it doesn't? There's a whole lot of ways that you can talk about injuries to kind of take a snapshot of what it is today, so that if you ever need to compare it to how things were in the past to determine whether this is a new injury or an aggravation of an old injury or an unrelated injury, you have that information whenever the time is, whenever the time is right.
And the name says it all, chiropractor to you. The advantage is if you've been in a car accident, you probably don't feel like driving to and from an office. You come to them. That's the big advantage. It's something you kind of, I don't know how you honed in on that, but it's a fantastic idea and it works.
Yes, it does. And the reason I honed in on it, I think I mentioned this before, is I just saw how much getting care made people not well. You hurt, like you said, and then what are you going to do? Go sit in a car when one of the things that causes you problem is to be sitting, for example. And when you're hurt, who wants to get in and deal with traffic? I don't like dealing with traffic even when I'm feeling great. But nowadays, like we've talked about before, everybody's having to multitask. I mean, don't text and drive, but you have to just try to squeeze much more day out of your time than you ever used to have to. So who needs to spend time in traffic? Who wants to sit in a waiting room? Who wants to be one of 20 people being taken care of when they could be the only person being taken care of at the moment?
This makes perfect sense to me. Okay, so now let's have some fun.
Okay.
This is very serious. If you do happen to be in a car accident, knock on wood, we pray you're not, but if it does happen to you, then give Dr. Black a call. He can come to you. Okay, cracking your knuckles. I hear different things about people, cracking their knuckles and okay. Good, bad, should we do this?
Well, we were getting at one of the questions that so many people ask. It's like, you spend 5 years in chiropractic school, you spend $250,000, and the first thing people ask you is, should I crack my knuckles?
Should we?
Well, first of all, I think most people are going to do it whether they should or not, but I think there's a better way to do it. Like, if don't do this, don't do that, do this. If you came to me and wanted me to adjust your knuckle, what I would do is what we call distraction. Pull them apart, boom, like this.
And why is that?
Well, it actually gaps the joint instead of crunching everything together. And then there's cartilage in there between each bone. That's what a joint is. When you got bone, cartilage, bone, that's a joint, all right? And there's fluid in there. And so what it does is it mixes the fluids up and it lubricates the joint and it sucks that stuff back in because it's basically a vacuum. So you pull it apart, sucks the fluid back in, irrigates the joint, makes it have more room and more lubricant.
All right, we've got about a minute left.
Okay.
So real quick, I'll ask you, what about cracking my neck? Can I do that?
Cracking your neck? Oh, that's a little more difficult question, but let me just say that I am a chiropractor and I cannot even crack my own neck like I would crack your neck, okay? And that word crack is not to be used too often, but we mean adjustment or manipulate.
There we go.
But if I have a problem here, I pull here, guess what? It pops over here. Well, that's not where I had the problem. If I was working on you, you had a problem here, I put my hand here and it would pop right there. So even when a chiropractor tries to manipulate his own neck, he's doing exactly the opposite of what he wished he was doing.
Okay, we had some fun, and you also talked about some very serious topics. Again, chiropractor to you. He is Dr. Todd Black. Dr. Black has your back. There's the number, comes to you, folks. So if you're in a recent car accident and you're feeling the pain, you need help, you need a professional, Dr. Black will take care of you. And as I said, he comes to your home or your office.